Good evening. Welcome to Reflections on East Granby. My name is Mike Malloy and I'll be your host this evening. Joining us tonight is William F. Baker, 47 North Main Street, East Granby, a 4-year resident, definitely the shortest term resident we've interviewed, and we're curious to hear his reflections on the town based on the time that he's been here. Once again, I'd like to thank Granby Community Television for offering this resource and the ability to get as many of the seniors of East Granby as we can on tape, documented, so people can share their stories with us. Let's get started. Good evening, Will.
Good evening, Mike.
Bill, right?
Bill.
Bill,
Yeah.
You prefer, okay. Why don't we start with your background? You were born in Hartford.
Hartford, oh yeah.
In 1936. 36, okay.
My father was a Hartford police officer.
Okay. And your parents, what part of Hartford do you live in?
I lived up in the north end, up on Manchester Street.
Manchester Street. Where is that in relation to the layout of the city?
Be north end, if you were to go up Manchester Street, come up to Blue Hills Avenue, you're right by the old Mount Sinai Hospital that's now a part of St. Francis.
So you're way up in the north end, almost to Bloomfield.
Almost to Bloomfield, yeah.
Okay. What was that neighborhood like when you were growing up?
It was a very nice, good, quiet residential neighborhood.
Yep.
Very well-kept homes. I would say, probably one of the better sections of Hartford.
There's some beautiful architecture up there.
Oh, there is.
Some of the houses are...
Well, some of those houses down around Ridgefield Street, Canterbury Street, which was not too far from where I was brought up.
What was the makeup of the neighborhood then? It was primarily just working class?
Working class, yeah.
And many of the people were employed in Hartford, correct?
A good many were in Hartford. Insurance companies. As I said, my father was a police officer. My mother worked in an insurance company. And
interesting.
a lot of different things. I run down the street. There was a guy that was a barber down at the old Bond Hotel.
Oh, no kidding.
Another guy was projectionist at the Strand Theater. All different.
It's a very diverse neighborhood.
We're very diverse, yeah.
Okay, so you grew up in Hartford, attended the Hartford public schools?
I attended the Hartford public schools until 4th grade. Then I went into the parochial school system, going over to St. Joseph's Cathedral School.
And that was in West Hartford?
No, that was in Hartford, in Farmington. Farmington Avenue.
Okay, so you attended school and you graduated from the Hartford, or graduated from St. Joseph's?
Joseph's, yeah.
Okay.
Then I went out to Bloomfield to St. Thomas Seminary.
And you
did my high school years there and first 2 years of college.
So you actually attended college there?
Yeah, 2 years. Then I finished the second 2 years of college up at St. Bernard Seminary in Rochester, New York.
Training to be a
priest.
A priest.
We got a degree from the State University of New York.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that was actually incorporated into the state. Interesting.
Yes,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, you don't see that anymore.
No, that's quite a thing. The school is closed now. It's long gone.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went into the priesthood as a young man.
I'm 26. That was fairly young.
So up until 26, you were basically in training for the priesthood?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so you went in, where was your first priesthood?
After spending a few months during the summer season out in Sharon.
Okay.
I came over to Enfield, young parish over there, and
what was the name of that one?
St. Martha's.
Oh no, I grew up in Enfield. So.
Oh yeah, on Brainerd Road.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, we were there. As a matter of fact,
they had their own parochial. They had their own school there.
They built the school while I was there. We even had a rectory that got moved. The rectory was over in one location, and they built the school 2 houses over, and moved their rectory over next to that.
Wow.
The church was part of the school. Never had a real separate.
Does the school still exist, sir?
Oh yeah, it still exists.
Okay, so I've been on Enfield for many years.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty large church at the time.
It was growing. We were the small one. We were the newcomers, but we were young parish, all working families. And
what years were that?
That was 62 to 66.
Yeah, my familiarity is a little later in the 70s, so it was a fairly good-sized church at that point.
Yeah, it grew up. Then I went down to New Haven for a year.
Okay.
And then up to Hartford for a year.
Great. And you were in the priesthood until what age?
32, 1968.
And you left the priesthood and got married?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting transition. Huh?
Well, at that time it was quite a few were doing it.
Fairly common?
Oh yeah, it was fairly common.
Yeah, so you got married, had some children?
I had 2 children.
Okay, you want
I
to
had
share their names with us?
I had a boy, Kevin, and a daughter, Ann.
Okay.
Kevin's married now he's got 2 daughters, plus he had another daughter before he got married to another girl, but
Okay.
takes very good care of her and keeps in close contact. She's moved to South Carolina, but
So
has her up visiting part of the family. And she's
Beautiful.
always been part of the family.
Good, good.
And they're expecting another addition this fall.
All right.
Yeah.
Keep growing, huh?
Yeah.
The Baker family's expanding.
Oh, it's expanding, yeah.
Okay. So you've got 2 children. How many grandchildren? I missed
3.
the count. Okay, so you have 3
Great
grandchildren.
grandchildren and 1 coming this fall.
Where did you bring them up? Where did you raise your family?
My family was raised pretty much in West Hartford.
Okay.
When Kevin was born, we were in East Hartford. Then we were out in Burlington for a few years, but mostly we were in West Hartford. We spent a good many years in West Hartford.
Yeah, I'm going to bounce back just for a second. What was the most interesting part of being a priest? Just because very few people probably have a real clear perspective of that profession.
I found dealing with people.
Yeah. The interpersonal.
The interpersonal relationships, getting involved in their lives and
Right.
trying to help them and being part of them. And as I said, we were in a young parish. We were just starting. The pastor took care of the school. I took care, which had maybe 400 of the 2,000 kids that we had that were worried about religious education.
Right, right.
So I had a lot of work in getting that established and going.
So you were a priest during the period where the church really was liberalized, basically. It became
Yeah, during
much-
the council years. and
Right,
on.
right.
Yeah.
So they went from a very traditional
No,
conservative
the
church to a
church
far more
yeah.
open. And so it always struck me that priests, especially traditional priests, were more of a community social worker than anything, than.
In some ways, yeah, that's true. But I was always had a great interest in theology and religious stuff.
Interesting.
Still do.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that obviously has to be the driving force at some level.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you raised your family in West Hartford.
Yeah.
Then where did you? What profession did you go into after the priesthood?
I served a different number of things. I did some social work. I did a lot of retail work. I went over to Computer Processing Institute, got a program in computers, and did programming. Went through the insurance companies, the Travelers, the Aetna, the Hartford, out to United Aircraft, Otis Elevator.
No kidding. So you bounced around all the big industries in central Connecticut.
Yeah, I ended up last few years doing insurance underwriting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did a number of things and did a lot of retail work in between.
Super.
Yeah.
So you raised your family in West Hartford. Did you stay there most of the time?
Oh yeah, we stayed pretty much in West Hartford. My kids went through the West Hartford schools, the parochial school, St. Thomas's.
Right.
My son went to Northwest Catholic, and led to my involvement there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you then you continued on. You raised your children.
Yeah.
What, just briefly, did you live in any other towns before you came to East Granby, or did you stay in West Hartford?
After West Hartford,
After West Hartford.
No, during West Hartford. After my wife and I went separate ways,
Right.
I ended up that my mother came and lived with me for a while in West Hartford.
Okay.
And then the 2 of us went back she had a condo out in Farmington.
Mm-hmm.
I went back there, and during her last few years, more or less took care of her and helped her, did what I could for her.
Great.
Yeah. We were on the famous Route 4 in Farmington.
Busy road.
Well, busy road.
Yeah.
I think now I come out of Metacomet. If I have to wait for 2 cars, I get impatient. There, if you get out in 10 minutes, you say, boy, this is a good day.
Bring a newspaper down there. Okay, so you and after your mother passed away, is that when you sold the condo, moved to?
Yeah, I looked around. I was, didn't want to stay there.
Right.
Looked around, didn't find anything, started giving up. Then I came across an ad for the Metacomet homes over in East Granby.
Okay.
That moved up into there back about 4 years in August.
So before you came to town, you must have taken a ride up and driven around.
Yeah.
What inspired or what led you to pursue the vacancy at Metacomet Homes?
As I tell everybody, I didn't move to East Granby.
Right.
I moved to Metacomet Homes.
Right.
And East Granby came with a package, which to me is a fantastic thing because I've.
But I'm assuming if you must have come up and checked out the area a little
Oh, yeah,
bit. You wouldn't have moved there. If
I had a friend that lived there.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
And I was looking at, I saw the ad there. I put my name in there. I had my name in it. Granby, right over here.
Right.
And several other senior centers.
So you were on a waiting list?
I was on waiting list.
Okay.
And this came first, and
So you move into Metacomet
Yeah.
4 years ago. What were your first impressions of the town?
it was a nice town. People were friendly.
Okay.
Found well accepted.
Yep.
And at that time, I had some health problems, so plus I had other involvements that I was still carrying on.
Right.
I was very active in the local AARP chapter in the Farmington Valley that took Granby, East Granby, Simsbury, Canton, Avon.
So let's just briefly. Why don't
Yeah.
we just give a brief overview of some of the organizations and groups?
Yeah.
Obviously, the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Going on from there.
Yeah.
What were some of the things you've been involved with in your adult life as a?
Since I've come to East Granby, I've got very involved in quite a few organizations.
So it's mostly since you've came to East
Oh,
Granby?
yeah. Well, before I was involved, as I say, my son went to Northwest Catholic, and I became involved in the sports program.
Okay.
Still there, run the clock for basketball.
You still do that?
Still do
Oh,
that.
good for you.
Do the scorebook for baseball, and
Keeps you active.
keeps me active.
And it's fun.
Keeps me in touch with the kids, and because I've been there almost 25 years, last year at the golf tournament, they gave me a Man of the Year award, which made me feel very good.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, that's good. And then, as I say, I did a lot of work with the AARP chapter. My mother had been in and out with membership, and I was helping her, and more or less I sort of drifted and took over for her, and they were having trouble getting a president, and somehow I became president.
Right.
Served my 2 years, and I had to get out and did different jobs for 2 years, then came back and was president for 2 more years.
Oh, great. Good for you.
Yeah.
So you're not afraid of getting involved?
Oh, no, I've never been involved. I've never was one to be what you would call a card-carrying member of anything I joined.
Right.
If I joined, my sleeves were rolled up and
You dove in?
dove in. Like when the kids were in West Hartford in the leagues, I got involved in coaching and referee and umpiring.
You're a
Running
doer.
basketball league in West Hartford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like you're fairly. You don't get too attached to anything. It's you take. I mean, if you enjoy it and you're doing it, it's
Yeah.
good. But you've done a lot of different things.
I've done a lot of done different things, and as things move on, your different phases of your life, you move into different things. AARP, the local chapter, had run its course. It had been in existence, one of the early chapters, and had run its course and was sort of a dying organization.
Okay.
So I sort of withdrew from that, and it has since disbanded. But
Really? Okay.
yeah, well, when AARP started the local chapters, there was not much in the way of senior activity in any of our towns.
I see.
Now, wherever you go
Okay.
through any town you go through, you get your senior center, your senior
Right.
programs with the trips and everything else. So
It's kind of folded more under the umbrella of the municipal activities.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
towns have really,
Yeah.
absolutely, they've expanded dramatically.
Yeah,
Some of
they
our
have.
other guests have talked about how 20, 30 years ago there was really nothing for
that's
seniors.
right, yeah.
Including places to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so you're in East. We'll jump back to East Granby here. You come into town, you start getting involved. What are some of the things you've been involved with since you've been here in town?
The first thing I got involved is, and the question is, you send out mailings, does anybody respond? I do.
Okay.
Became a member of the Historical Society. And
Yep.
more or less went to the meetings, and this summer when we had the stagecoach.
Yep. I saw you up there.
Yeah, you saw me up
We
there.
were
I
up there
was there.
filming it for GCTV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was there. I just tell everybody, do you know anybody that has sold tickets for stagecoach rides? I plead guilty to that. I was
And
out
is
there.
less than 120 years old.
Yeah, so I did that.
Right.
And then one of the funny things is, one of the things I saw was a Friends of the East Granby Library sent out a brochure what they did and
Right.
get people interested in helping the library. I said, gee, I read a lot and always in their library getting books. And I, like the library staff. They were very friendly,
Right.
very helpful. So I joined. Then I saw they were having a meeting, so I went to a meeting. The first meeting I went to was the annual meeting. Walked out of that as vice president.
Oh, see, yeah.
And then
Seems-
4 or 5 months later, the president resigned. I was president.
Oh, wow.
So I have since last year been elected in my own right. But
Welcome to East Granby.
yeah, yeah. Well, the funny thing was when I was AARP, myself and another fellow used to go on membership drives. We used to visit various
Right.
senior fairs and all, try to get members to join. And we always say, join, we make you an instant officer.
That's right.
It happened to me.
You're familiar with the networking that
Yeah.
goes on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So good for you. What are your impressions of those institutions in town? The Historical Science
Right.
Society, the
I'm
libraries.
very, very fond of them. The Historical Society, it's quite a group. It's a lot of people with good interest in it. One of the first things I did when I came to town
right.
is I went to the library, got my library card,
Yep.
found the book on East Granby, Betty Guinan's book, and
Yeah.
read that and really got to know the town and
Super.
became impressed with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a well done book.
it was a very, very well done book. It gave a good picture of the town. And
It's a fascinating history. You don't
Oh,
have to
it
go
is.
back too far to find some really
yeah,
interesting stuff.
yeah, it was. So that and the Friends of the Library, it's had its great glory days, and it's gone down through a period of adjusting, and we're adjusting now. Right now we're working on putting together for fall, join what every other library does, have a used book sale.
Right.
So we're working on that.
Great. How are things at the library? Just sharing with our is the interest and the donations stable considering the situation?
They are.
Good.
It seems to be getting a good flow of people. I volunteer there now a couple of days a month, and
Great.
there's good usage of the library. I think we've got an outstanding library.
I agree. Yeah.
When you think of East Granby and being a rather small town,
It's always a challenge.
but it's anything in town, I think, is equal to things around.
Yeah. I
Uh,
agree.
I've gotten to know Lisa Salazar, the librarian, very well. Work with her and work with everybody up there, and find them amazing people, really dedicated and committed. And you never really realize how much work is done in that library just to keep it up and running, get the books in there and all.
Yeah.
It's good. Another group I've become involved with is the Commission on Aging.
Okay.
Again, saw an ad last Talk Turkey, they were looking for members. Put my name in, became an alternate member back in 2007, I believe, or 2008, I believe it was.
Great.
And again, 4 months later, one of the members resigned due to health reasons, and I became a full-time member there.
Super. Yeah.
And gotten to know Diane Tracy and the senior programs very well. And again, you're amazed. For a town as small as East Granby, senior director working 16 hours a week, the programs we have. One of the things she has is an exercise class. Monday morning, we have 14 seniors doing exercises.
Wow.
It's not always the same 40,
Yeah.
Some come, some go, and she started a second program on Thursdays, got that up to 12 or 15
Wow.
people.
Right.
They present line dancing, yoga.
She's trying to keep all her constituents healthy.
Yeah, well, it's a very good program, and it's, it gives you the exercise, and a good training in anti-fall and safety, and how people can really help themselves.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think East Granby has
Yeah.
done a good job at putting some very competent people,
Yeah.
fortunately, in some fairly key positions.
They have.
We've really been lucky.
That's amazed me about the town.
There's not a lot of room for chafe in a town with a
No.
budget the size of ours.
No.
You got to make sure everybody's
Yeah.
really participating. Now, just it's always interesting to me. If you've been in town for a few years, what would you say are the differences from you spent a lot of time in West Hartford,
Yeah.
Farmington. What are the biggest things that jump out at you as being differences?
Small townness.
Okay.
You go to West Hartford, it's a big town, and yeah, there's things going on. You have your little narrow interest, and that's it.
Yeah.
You come to a town like East Granby, you have your interests, but yet they seem to broaden out and encompass much more.
Right.
And you get and see a lot of different things. You get involved in a lot of different other things, and the openness of people, the willingness of people. I heard, small towns, you've got to be in town 50 years before anybody even smile.
Right.
But I haven't found that in East Granby.
I think that's probably, I haven't found that myself, and I think partially, that's going back a few years in smaller towns, because there's still, regardless of the size of the town now, there's such a movement in the population. That people don't stay in one place. So there's a lot of newcomers to town. So that's great. So that the ability to kind of spread out intellectually in your interests in the town.
Yeah.
You're not just pigeonholed.
And they're looking for people to really, come in, roll up their sleeves and get involved. And,
right.
You're going to the library, they're looking for volunteers, move books around, do whatever, go over the Senior Center, Community Center, and get involved in all their programs, and being on the Commission on Aging, having had the experience of working with the elderly and AARP, it's good to see it localized and helping the people. And we're probably at a crossroads here in East Granby right now.
In terms of
where do we go with senior programs and all. We did get the community center renamed to the Senior Center Community Center. Now what do we do with it? What kind of programs? And we're studying that, working on that, trying to get together some thoughts. And is this building in the long term going to be where we want? Do we want something else? And a good idea where we've had people in, explore different things, and I really begin to get ideas and the willingness of people to step forward and discuss the issues.
Now, you've been in town. I'll ask you some of the questions. It's interesting. Some of the questions that I have asked previous guests, and it'll be a little different angle because it's a fairly short window we're talking about. But since you've been in town 4+ years, what's the most interesting character that's jumped out to you, a person? Well, what's the one? I mean, it's a fairly short frame of reference.
Yeah.
But is there anybody that stood out in your?
Well, there's quite a few, but there's one woman that really stands out in my mind. I have all of 2 apartments over to meet her.
Okay.
Is Kathleen Parrick.
Okay.
She's up in her mid-90s.
Right.
She's been in Metacomet Village since the village opened, taking care of her.
Really?
She came in with her mother to take care of her mother.
Oh, wow.
And when her mother died at the age of over 100, she was old enough to stay right on there. She's still there, but she is in the process of relocating. But not only has she been there a long time, but she's always out. She's at everything.
Okay.
You go to the exercise class. She had her 95-year-olds, puts us 70-year-olds to shame.
Good for her.
Her energy and her pep.
Really?
And she's in there doing things. She's had quite a career in town in music, and was choir master and organist at the Congregational Church.
Okay.
She's an amazing person. Has really contributed a lot to the town.
Super. That's good. Maybe we can get her on the show before she relocates.
Yeah, she's planning. She's definitely feel that she's getting to the point where someday she's going to need somebody to take care of her.
Slightly more assistance.
Yeah. She has a daughter down on the Cape who's putting an addition onto her house. She's moving down there with her.
Good for her.
Yeah.
I have to get her number before you leave. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
You went. This is a slightly different variation of a question I've asked. If there was one thing you could change about the town, what would that be? And I'm not. I always qualify by saying that we're not trying to get you to criticize the town.
Yeah.
Just one area that it could improve. Is there anything that strikes you that?
I think probably some conveniences.
Okay.
Like a drugstore or maybe a grocery store over and above a little small convenience stores,
Okay,
gas stations.
sure.
Things like that might help. You want to get a quart of milk, you're up to Granby or somewhere else.
Right. Local amenities.
Yeah. A few things. I don't anticipate it becoming a great big commercial area.
No.
But just a few little things you can run out and get. And I also noticed that, of course, every big town is concerned about this, is business development.
Okay.
You do need that in town to bring in tax income and all.
Right.
I did notice I recently had occasion to ride around that area up behind Bradley Field,
Sure.
up in there,
Yeah.
and to realize how many empty buildings
Yeah.
there are in there. And if we could somehow get them occupied and producing good, healthy income.
So amenities and promotion of our,
Yeah.
our existing business
Yeah.
and expansion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think the greater economy will hopefully take care of that
Yeah,
to
well,
some extent.
I think once the economy comes back, I think a lot, and that's, when we talk about working with the seniors, where we can do a senior center or what.
Right.
We're not looking for something today, but we're looking when the economy is there and there's things
Right.
ready, we're ready to go.
I think like anything like that, it's
Yeah.
important to have a plan in place, though,
Yes, it
because you want to be able to take advantage of opportunities.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys are working on that.
Yeah.
So, so if you were, I guess, you've had a fairly interesting career, your work career,
Yeah.
starting as a priest and going on to
Yeah,
a full-time
well,
volunteer. It sounds like now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you? This is another question I always try to ask. If you were to give advice to a young person today, what would that keeping it fairly simple, what would your general advice be? I mean, you've got a few years under your belt, a few experiences.
I would say get involved.
Okay.
I think back to my own daughter.
Mm.
She went to Conard High School in West Hartford. In the first year or two she went to school, she took her classes and went home.
Mm.
And then the third year, all of a sudden, she started to get into things. She got into the drama club and things of that kind, not as an actor or actress, but as a backhand thing, doing lighting, staging, and all that.
Mm.
And she got into helping with the softball team, being a team manager and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, Dad, the last 2 years were the best years. Once I got involved, I should have done that much earlier.
Mm.
And I would say, when you see our young folks today, to get involved in school activities, many of them belong to churches, or church activities, other youth programs, get involved and carry that through your life. Living in a senior development now, you see people who are more or less sort of never really gotten involved in much in their life.
Mm.
Just sitting back and not having much of a life. I sort of, people tell me I get involved in too much.
Yeah.
But I find that the most fulfilling part of my life and the happiest part of my life is going out and getting involved in these things.
Mm.
And if you can begin and carry this through your life, I think your young people will find a far richer life.
I think it keeps you physically and mentally
it does.
much healthier.
Oh, it does.
I mean,
It
it's
does.
kind of what we're built to do,
Yeah.
move, right?
Yeah.
So you're to paraphrase your advice would be to get involved and stay involved.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So what was the most rewarding involvement you've had? I mean, it's fascinating to me because you were a priest. I mean, that's a very unique beginning to somebody's career,
Yeah.
But as you went, looking back, other than having children, because I usually most people say.
Yeah.
But what was the most rewarding experience you've had, or is there anything that stands out?
Well, something that stands out is something we haven't got into.
Sure.
Last summer, I had cataract surgery.
Okay.
And I had first one eye and the second eye done.
Right.
And I was probably, as a matter of fact, they told me afterwards if I had gone for a driver's test just before I had the surgery, I wouldn't have passed the eye test.
Interesting.
My eyes were that bad. But now
Yeah.
they're 20/20.
Okay.
After the thing, I heard an ad on the radio one day. The Society for the Blind was looking for volunteers.
Couldn't resist, could you?
I couldn't resist. I had to call them, As a matter of fact, I heard it 2 or 3 times, and then I probably shouldn't mention this, but I watched one of your rival stations,
Okay.
the Connecticut Now.
Okay.
This channel
Okay,
from
yeah.
the state. I watched
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And they had the Society for the Blind with their annual award ceremony.
Sure.
That did it. I called.
Okay.
And I've gotten involved in working with the blind now.
Interesting.
One woman I visit up at McLean, and more with her it's just visiting. But on the other hand, I've gotten involved with working with a blind person down in West Hartford. He's just a minister.
Wow, a lot to talk about.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things. Just happened that
Ironic, yeah.
it never was intended that way.
Right, right.
But you go out you get your mailman comes. You go out, you pick up your mail, you bring it in, you read your mail.
Right,
But just to sit there, and he can't read mail.
right.
He depends on somebody like me to come in and read his mail.
Right.
That gives me an awful lot of satisfaction, helping him and working with him in those things, doing things for him.
It's fascinating. You have, yeah, it kind of falls into the heading. You don't appreciate what you have. until
Yeah,
you
I
might
know it, yeah.
lose it or deal with somebody that doesn't have
Yeah.
it. Just the perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to be fascinating to be
Yeah.
able to be the eyes for somebody else.
Oh, it is. It is. And
So I guess we'll sign you up as a volunteer here at the station. No, it just it sounds like you can.
as
I'm just kidding.
I tell anybody, if you need my help, I'm available between 2 and 3 o'clock the third Thursday morning of the
AM.
month. That's about what my schedule is.
We'll check our
because
schedule. Yeah, I can imagine.
I told somebody it's a good thing I don't have many visitors. I look at my couch. I've got about 6 piles of things on there with different projects I'm involved in.
Yeah.
Try to keep them organized.
Well, you've getting back to I can imagine.
Yeah.
But getting back to the town for a moment, what if you were coming in from, if you were going to tell somebody if it was coming to town, what they should come to see in East Granby, what would that be? I've never asked that question, but you're fairly new, so you're almost like a fresh set of eyes on the town. What impresses you the most?
One thing I would tell them to do, and this go up to that Historical Society barn.
The barn, yeah.
And look at that stagecoach. That thing is,
Amazing.
I haven't seen it before. It went out to get
Right.
refitted. And to see it now, that to me is an amazing piece of something that we have in East
A
Granby.
unique treasure, yeah.
It is. It's
It
a very
really-
unique treasure, and I think it's going to add to, as we develop other plans, and it's going to be very good for this town.
Yeah, it's amazing because a lot of those things are kind of under the radar until
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of work of a lot of dedicated people.
Oh, it does. Oh, there's a lot of people there that have,
Research and money and all kinds of things,
Oh,
and
yeah.
eventually you have something the town can treasure forever.
Yeah.
The whole crew over there, there's a lot of very dedicated people that
Oh,
have
there
been
are.
involved in the town for a very long time.
oh, there are. That's one thing that impressed me is the people in town, both the professional staff, the
Right.
directors of the various departments, the dedication and commitment, and what they accomplish, the staffs that they have, and the volunteers, the people who are involved in the many, many things in town.
Right,
It's a rich town that's got a lot of things for everybody.
right. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we can retain that flavor in town.
I think so. I think I see signs of it.
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The good thing about East Granby that most people I don't think consider is the fact that it's not really a lot of room for residential growth.
No.
You know, it's very limited. As you might put a house here, a house
Yeah,
there, a
right.
few minor developments, but overall it's built.
Yeah, most towns are that way.
And so we're just kind of polishing
Yeah.
and refining what we have. So,
Yeah.
and it's another 20 years, it'll be
Right.
probably an even better town. So,
Yeah.
in many ways. So, getting back for just a second,
Yeah.
you've been at the Metacomet Homes for 4 years.
4 years.
How many residences are over there approximately?
At Metacomet Village, we have 28 units. There's 4 buildings. Each building has 1 double unit.
Okay.
Most of them right now are occupied by single people. They go in as doubles, and the husband or wife dies, and people stay on there. Higley Village, there's 44 units.
Okay.
So there's roughly about, between the two villages, 70, 75 units.
Great.
We've even started a little local newspaper for the two villages.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Of course, I won't tell you.
Let me
who
guess,
started
you're
that.
involved, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm the reporter, the editor, the printer, the
Right.
newsboy.
Yeah.
But it's
I think
something.
I saw you selling them for 5 cents out
No,
of
I give them out. But it's amazing that I never thought I could do anything like that.
Right.
And I felt the need. I think communications
Huge.
is an
Very
important part of our world.
Part of why we're here.
That's why I admire your work here.
Yeah.
Here with this station, and we've got the newspaper now, the Granby News.
Right.
I mean, those are the things. But there's something get people in the villages interested in one another. What's happening?
Right. Tie them together a little bit, and they'll start talking. Right?
And it's amazing how you go around. I go around now. Last month was the second month I really had the paper. People say, I was wondering when it was coming out. I was looking forward to it. It gives me a chance to get around and visit them. I really enjoy it.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Do you have, one of the things that struck me is the physical setting of Metacomet Homes. It's a beautiful place.
Oh, that's a beautiful.
I mean, I haven't driven through Higley, but I've dropped people off at Metacomet a few times. You pull in there, it's like you're in another world. It's
it is.
A big ridge and back. And
you from the street you see nothing.
Right.
We're down in that little gully there, and it is fantastic.
Right.
I've got one of the N units, so there are buildings of 4 straight units.
Right.
And I'm in the M one, so I have the windows on the 3 sides.
You got
I get
quite
a
view,
nice
huh?
breeze. I get, we have all kinds of animals out there.
Right.
Somebody said they saw a coyote the other day.
Right.
We've had bears. We've always had turkeys. And
Right.
I don't know how many rabbits we've seen this year. I'm trying to catch one for dinner, but I can't quite catch up with it.
All right. So it sounds like I hope you enjoy a long residency over there. It sounds like you're.
I was sick last year. I was in the hospital, and I decided at that point I was going to live to be 100.
Okay.
So I got 27 more years.
Well, we're with you, buddy.
Yeah.
We're pushing you right up. Your mom, you said, lived to be quite old.
93.
93. Okay, so you only got to get 7 more years out of it.
Yeah.
Tough part is women tend to live a little
They
longer,
do.
so you really got to take care of yourself.
Well, I'm doing that now. I've had health problems. I was very heavily overweight at one point.
Okay.
And was put in the hospital, and I had a cardiologist scratch his head. How come you didn't have a heart attack?
Really?
Yeah.
Is that close? Huh?
That close. I weighed over 400 pounds at one time.
Wow. We've done quite well then. Wow, that's great.
Well, he scared me.
Yeah.
Then he found the blocked artery and I got a stent. So I got my health back. That's important to me now, and I really want to work at that.
That's probably where part of this energy is coming.
Oh yeah, very definitely. Oh, I know I couldn't do now what 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's great to hear. It sounds like you're making the most of retirement and just getting better with every year. Yeah.
Oh, I am. This is the best part of my life.
Well, keep plugging along, and certainly if you have any friends you want to refer to us for the show, it's great. I have trouble keeping on top of scheduling people, so bring some people in. But anyway, it's been a pleasure to have you here.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Mike.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before you?
No, as I said, I was talking to one of my neighbors today, and we were talking about living in East Granby. And we both said, this is the greatest town there is to live in.
Right.
When I moved in, I said it because I was tired. My next move is going to be handled by my undertaker.
Right.
Now I say that not because I just don't want to move. I say it because I want to stay.
Good. That's great. It's great to hear.
As I said, I didn't move to East Granby because it was East Granby.
Right.
But I'm so glad I did because I am completely happy here. I couldn't have found a better... Well, Metacomet Homes couldn't find better accommodation, better place to live, and I couldn't find a better town.
Well, it's good to hear that. I mean, you always want to get the insight of people who have come here from other places, and I think some of the benefits of town actually, are clearer to you than people who have been here for years because you can contrast it a little better. So it's a pleasure to have you here, and we're looking forward to.
I remember back when we had the Seymour Algrove. I think a couple of years ago, all these people have been here 50 years, talking. But no, I feel part of that.
Yeah.
And just something about this town that really is fantastic, that really brings you in, makes you want to see it flourish.
I notice it just as I've been here 10 years, but I notice it when I'm away.
Yeah.
If I'm away for a week or two, I just went on vacation. It was kind of nice to come home, and it's a very manageable town, and it's very easy to get to know many people in town very quickly.
It is.
You get to know, so certainly I echo encourage people to get involved at any level, because
Yeah.
it kind of snowballs and it expands your life very quickly.
Oh, it does. It
So
does.
it's been a pleasure having you here.
Oh, it's been a
Like I
pleasure,
said,
Mike.
we certainly wish you the best of health and
yeah.
luck and a long residency here in town,
Yeah.
and look forward to seeing you around town.
I hope to be here for a good many years. Thanks
for
you very
joining
much,
us.
Mike.
All right, Bill. Thanks. Thanks for joining us here tonight. It's a nice summer evening tonight, and we're in here documenting once again an interesting resident of East Granby, and we're glad you could join us. Our next episode will be filmed within the next week or two, but as the number of shows increases, just want to remind you that you can view all the shows online on gctv16.org. If you go to the View Online option, you can pull down the menu and view all the shows that we've recorded. You can also buy copies of the shows from GCTV for $20 a copy. It's one way that they can raise revenue. And as we expand the programming here on GCTV, I'd like to remind you that we need your support, and looking forward to continuing this public service. Thank you. Good night.